Welcome to the Bank of America Arena at Heck Edmondson Pavilion on the campus of the University of Washington and the 2007 University of Washington Freshman Convocation. The Convocation is a celebration in honor of freshmen and their families, welcoming them to the campus community. This marks the 24th such ceremony since the tradition was revived in 1984. It is not generally known that the university held convocations from the 1920s through the 1950s. Records in the university archives do not indicate when or why the earlier convocations were discontinued, but until its revival in 1984, it was at least 20 years since one had been held. Speakers for today's event include University Marshal Ronald Moore, President Mark Emmert, ASUW President Tyler Dawkins, Mary Gates Scholar Tim Yang, and Provost Phyllis Wise. The keynote speaker is Dr. Daniel Friedman, Dean of the College of Architecture and Urban Planning. The title of his convocation address is 5 Things to Save in Addition to the Planet. Again, welcome to the 2007 University of Washington Freshman Convocation.
The 2007 University of Washington Freshman Convocation will be opened with the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner by Ms. Natalie Wickham, accompanied by the University Wind Ensemble conducted by Professor Timothy Saltzman of the School of Music. Ms. Wickham is herself an incoming freshman in the School of Music. The audience will to join with Ms. Wickham in the national anthem. Please be seated. Good morning, and welcome to the University of Washington Freshman Convocation. I'm Ronald Moore, the University Marshal. In my regular job, I'm a professor of philosophy in our department, our excellent Department of Philosophy. But as University Marshal, I have the twin responsibilities of leading the President's Party and making sure that they don't get lost in the labyrinthine depths of Edmondson Pavilion, and also of carrying the mace. I also have the honor and privilege of offering you our first words of official greeting. And 4 years from now, I will have the equally pleasing opportunity to give you our last official words when I declare that the 148th commencement exercises of the University of Washington are now closed. There's gratifying symmetry in this hail and farewell, a symmetry that is reflected as well in the 4 Ionic columns that you see before you. These are replicas of the original columns that graced the facade of the university's first building that opened in 1861 on a rise in downtown Seattle, a piece of property the university still owns, but is now occupied by the Fairmont Olympic Hotel. It's on University Street. These same columns will be prominently displayed on the commencement stage in Husky Stadium when you march up to graduate. If you look around the mezzanine level here, you will see banners identifying each of the university's schools and colleges, arranged in historical order of the founding of those schools and colleges, beginning over here with the College of Arts and Sciences, and most recently, the Information School over here. Come graduation day, some of you will be carrying these banners, and the rest of you will be parading behind them according to your school and college. The columns and the banners are cherished parts of our University of Washington traditions. And as you join in the life of this university, you become party to these traditions and part of our traditions. Our experience of the cycles of beginning, development, and ending become your experience. But it's important to remember that it's not just this university's life and traditions you're joining. Instead, you're entering into an ancient and continuous body of learning that connects us to the earliest medieval universities in Europe, and indeed, ultimately, to Plato's Academy. A little plug for philosophy here. These connections are symbolized in the colorful medieval caps and gowns that we wear on these occasions, and of course, by that special ritual object the University Marshal carries in our ceremonies, the mace. The mace is an ancient symbol of authority. Universities are custodians both of enduring traditions of learning and of the power they bestow upon those who come to learn. It's also a reminder that the learning process is not always comfortable and easy. In the early universities of Europe, students entered into such animated discussions with their instructors that their raucous debates often spilled outside the classrooms and into the neighboring coffee shops and taverns, and that's why there had to be a mace. The marshal was authorized to wield it to subdue parties who got out of hand. The University of Washington mace is actually a quite handsome object. It's wooden-based and is embellished with finely wrought gold sculptures of the university seal and Denny Hall, and it's topped by a graceful rendition of Drumheller Fountain. I truly wouldn't want to damage it by bashing an unruly student. Now, we haven't had to resort to this sort of violent expedient here at the University of Washington, although I am told that at Yale, the University Marshal, a number of years had to do that. Someone came up to the lectern and tried to seize the microphone at graduation ceremonies to make a political speech, and the University Marshal grabbed the mace and pushed him off stage. I thought we were going to have to do something like that ourselves a few years ago when I was closing the commencement exercises, and a young student came up and nudged me out of the way, and I said, oh, I'm going to have to get the mace. But he just wanted to grab the microphone, and he said, "Will you marry me, Wendy?" And there was a big yes from somewhere back in the audience, and everyone applauded. Don't get any ideas. Now, as I've said, the mace, the banners, the columns, the festive gowns that we see here are all visible links to a grand history. Coming here, you're becoming participants and not just spectators of that history, a continuous stream of accumulated learning that connects us today with the greatest achievements of the past, the greatest writing, the greatest music, the greatest art and science and social theory and philosophy and athletics, and so much more, in all times and in all cultures. It is, as Matthew Arnold said, the nature of the university to gather and preserve the best that has been thought and said. The best that has been thought and said. But as we undertake to gather and preserve the best ideas mankind has hit upon, it's not to present them as sterile exhibits in some stuffy museum of lofty thoughts. It is instead to make these ideas a solid foundation from which new ideas can spring. It's the university's way of being liberal to be conservative, drawing upon all we've gained from experiment and composition, analysis and invention, to free our futures by ensuring that they develop out of knowledge of our pasts. The mace and all these other festive ritual ingredients are simply symbolic reminders of the university's special way of uniting where we are now with what has brought us here, so that we can get a good fix on where we hope to be going. Now, a word about the nature of this event itself. A convocation is, as those of you who recall your high school Latin may remember, a calling together. Today, we call together our incoming freshmen and their families so that we may celebrate with you the beginning of university education and welcome you all to membership in our campus community. This is the 23rd such ceremony since the tradition was revived in 1984 after a 20-year hiatus. By calling all of us, students, faculty, families, and friends together in this place, we are underscoring a point of cooperation and mutual commitment. You, students, and your parents and relatives are now members of the University of Washington family. Like families everywhere, we'll be sharing our affections, our aspirations, and our devotion to the project of creating a better future. We sincerely hope that these newly formed family connections will be lifelong bonds of friendship and allegiance. And we hope you will always feel as proud and happy about us as we already feel about this outstanding incoming class. I now want to introduce the man who will preside over our ceremony today, Dr. Mark Emmert, who was a freshman like you at this school just a few years ago, and is now president of the University of Washington.
Thank you, Professor Moore. Let me join Professor Moore in welcoming you to this wonderful day, this beginning of an extraordinarily exciting adventure in all of your lives. And that's just for the parents. For the students, let me also welcome you to the UW family. In this room right now are classmates from across the state, from across the nation, and indeed from across the world that you have not yet met. But you will, and you will in coming days and weeks, months, and perhaps even years, come to know many of them that are here. And there are people sitting here that you don't know yet who will become your best friends. They will be your business partners. They will be your study partners. They may be your spouse. They may be someone who stands up with you at a wedding or is there when you have challenges or problems or difficulties and celebrates great victories and successes with you. And you also have in this room faculty and academic leaders who will lead you on this wonderful journey of becoming the person that you're in the midst of becoming right now. Because the University of Washington has only very simple expectations. We simply want to transform your life. We want you to enter this room today at this convocation and leave again in 4 years, or 5, or 5.5, depending upon your parents' willingness to pay tuition. We want you to leave the university a very, very different person than the one who sits here right now. We want you to see the world very differently than you see it today. And more importantly, we want you to see your role in that world differently than you see it right now. When I entered the University of Washington, I had no idea that I would become president of this wonderful institution. I suspect it's also true, in fact, I know it's true, that 2 others of my classmates had no idea what was in store for them. One went on to win the Nobel Prize in medicine. One won a Pulitzer Prize. They were sitting here just like you, just like me. They had no clue what the world held for them or what their place was in it. But when they left, they understood it, and they went on to great things. I need to congratulate you as well, because you are entering a university that is one of the finest educational institutions, not in Washington, not in the United States, but in the world. The fact is that most recently, the University of Washington was ranked the 16th best university on earth. And we were sort of mad that we weren't in the top 15. And you may not remember, but your parents will remember a great line by the actor and movie maker Woody Allen, who said that 80% of winning is just showing up. Well, you know, when you show up in the freshman class of the University of Washington, you have made a big, huge step towards winning, because you had to get here through a pretty arduous route. You survived a selection process that included more than 18,000 slots. You had to have grades and test scores that allowed you to reach this moment, but at the same time, we changed for your class and the class before you the entire means by which we selected you and invited you to become part of this freshman class. We looked at your leadership abilities. We looked at your talents outside of the classroom, your artistic talents, your leadership skills, the kinds of work you've done, the kinds of obstacles you've overcome in life, the work ethic that you have, the values and attributes that we know will allow you to be successful at this great university. And you did it, and you got here. And now the fun begins. The fun, the hard work, the challenge, the great opportunity of participating in this wonderful learning community that the University of Washington comprises. But of course, you didn't get here alone, nor will you finish here alone. You got here in large part because of the people that are here as your guests. And right now, I would like, and we'll do this again in 4 years, but I would like you to right now, all of the freshmen, to please rise. Please stand up. All of the students, all of the entering students. And I would like you to turn to the parents, the family members, the friends that are standing here today and applaud them and thank them for the great work that helped you get to this moment in your life. Thank you. And parents, you have reason to be proud too, and you have reason to be excited and probably a little reason to be nervous. I remember when I sent my sons and daughters off to college, I immediately measured their rooms to see if my desk would in fact fit in there. I comforted my wife, who was crying at the time, and said, "Yes, but think about the food bill." She immediately smiled. But the fact is, you're about to enter into a great transition in your lives as well. You're about to turn over your sons and daughters and grandchildren and nephews and nieces and these wonderful young people and sometimes not so young people to the charge of the university. And as president of the university, you have my pledge that I, the faculty, the staff, the administration of the university will do everything in our power to make sure that they have every educational experience they can possibly desire put in front of them. It will be up to them to take up that challenge and do the work and learn from it, but we'll be there beside them every step of the way. We will provide them with many experiences and opportunities inside the classroom and outside, some of which you'll love, some of which you'll wish you didn't know about. But mostly you'll feel very, very proud and very excited for this journey of your children. And now, what I would like to do is please introduce the platform party that's here today. The university is run and overseen by the regents of the University of Washington. The regents are appointed by the governor of our state, and they're the people who have ultimate responsibility for this great institution. Please hold your applause till I introduce them, and I'd like to please have them stand. Regent Christine Blake, Regent Bill Gates, Regent Sally Jewell, and Student Regent Aaron Lennon. Ladies and gentlemen, the regents of the University of Washington. The University of Washington is also governed by something that we refer to as shared governance. And shared governance means that we work together with our faculty to set the direction for the university, to make our critical decisions about the experiences you all have and how we run the institution. The chair of the Faculty Senate, who is our lead partner in shared governance, is Professor Daniel Luchtel. Professor Luchtel, please. We also have with us today all of the senior administration of the university, some who will be introduced to you in due course. The leadership of the university, the administration, please. All of these wonderful banners that you were discussing around here are, of course, led by deans, and we have all of the dean leadership of the university with us today, people that you will come to know over the course of your education, the deans of the University of Washington. We also have with us a number of students who have achieved great success here, individuals who we are especially proud of, individuals who have records that you can emulate as you do your hard work here as well. We have the president of the student body of the Associated Students of the University of Washington, Tyler Dawkins, who will speak to you shortly. We have president of the Graduate and Professional Student Senate, Dave Brown. We have the Mary Gates Leadership Scholar, Tim Yang. Last year's President's Medalist, Min Ah Nguyen, and sophomore medalist Jeremy Yangtze Chan. Would you all please rise? You're supposed to be rising now, all of you. And we also have the president of our Alumni Association, Norm Proctor. Norm, would you please rise? And now let me introduce your student body president, an international studies and geography major who just entered his senior year as the new president of the student body of the University of Washington. Please welcome again Mr. Tyler Dawkins. Tyler.
Thank you, President Emmert. For these robes, I kind of feel like I'm at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry instead of the University of Washington. Kind of goofy, love it. So students, parents, family, and friends, thank you for coming here today to support and welcome the incoming class of 2011. Now, when I was asked to speak here today, I was a bit clueless about what to talk about. I went to President Emmert and asked, what should be the subject of my remarks? He told me to speak about the student experience. And over the past few days, I spoke with friends, inquired about their individual experience, listened to a number of stories, and realized it would be nearly impossible to speak about the UW student experience. Each student faces their own challenges and has their unique perspectives. So, however, there are a few things, little things, about the student experience that are fairly universal. For one, the toothpaste does not replace itself anymore. And in fact, neither does the shampoo, laundry detergent, soap, or deodorant. And I've also found that we all have similar academic experiences, no matter what major we are, whether it is geography or neurobiology. We will all have to solve the same mathematical equations involving how many of the necessary toiletry products we can purchase with approximately $13. But on a more serious note, the more substantial parts of our college lives differ very greatly. There are key aspects of life that shape our memories at the University of Washington and our entire experience. A good friend of mine, Chris Paredes, commutes to school every day from Tacoma, catching a bus at 5 or 6 in the morning to get to campus. And if he wants to get involved with student organizations, he runs the risk of missing that last bus as it leaves the University of Washington to go home. Yet he stays engaged with campus activities. A number of our students go to school full-time, work, and spend countless hours raising children. And Timo Bennett, who works in the ASUW office, our student government, raises a beautiful little girl while he attends school. Monique Massio Saltarelli, a new friend of mine, is completely financially independent since the age of 18, having to petition the financial aid process that would not consider her independent until the age of 25. The one constant in all our lives is the support at the University of Washington. It's our community. You may have heard President Emmert speak about the incredible efforts a number of different appearances and speeches on behalf of the UW administration, faculty, staff, alumni, and UW Foundation who made it possible for over 5,000 students to attend this school tuition-free through the Husky Promise, which is a tuition guarantee within the 65th percentile of the median income. Additionally, the University of Washington Alumni Association, Office of Minority Affairs, and many other organizations and departments lend a helping hand to ensure that students have the opportunity to succeed. But what's truly unique about the UW experience is our students' ability to help one another and work collectively for the betterment of the University of Washington. It's as if individually we are all balloons floating in place, susceptible to any heavy burden, whether it's commuting hours every day to school, raising children, or having to pay our whole way through college. Many factors can impede into the completion of our degree. However, when banded together, we can collectively lift each other up no matter the burden. It begins by coming together, by joining a student organization housed in the Student Activities Office, the Ethnic Cultural Center, academic departments, residence halls, or within the different Greek communities. And when we have fewer challenges in our lifetime, it is even more important to become an ally of one another. Right now, our students are coming together across campus to form the Husky Pride Foundation. It was an initiative that was started last year by two great individuals to create scholarships for students and by students. It started with two programs. First was the Husky Tee, where a t-shirt was designed by a student and sold to promote Husky Pride. And the second was the Change Program, where your tips at certain coffee locations around campus go to a scholarship fund. All this scholarship money that is raised through these initiatives goes towards helping students becoming engaged on campus or help students in emergency situations. For example, our scholarships will help pay for that extra day of childcare to allow student parents to participate in the many organizations at the University of Washington. Our scholarships will help pay for that out-of-state student's trip back to their home state to visit their parent with cancer. Now, we will strengthen these programs and move beyond, and as balloons banded together, we will rise with any weight bearing upon us. Students will get together this fall to further instill a sense of philanthropy and aid one another on this campus. And it is this warmth and compassion for one another that makes us one of the best universities in the world. So class of 2011, I challenge you to help shape each other's Husky experience, take part in our campus community, celebrate our individual paths coming through college, and let's move upward together as the University of Washington Huskies. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. And now I'd like to introduce the Mary Gates Leadership Scholar recipient, who is going to be speaking to you today also. Tim Yang is actually a two-time winner of this wonderful scholarship. He is pursuing a double major in economics and political science with a minor in environmental studies. Tim was a student leader in the campus organization that drove the effort to bring paper recycling back to our residence halls. He's a graduate of Kentwood High School and will be graduating this fall, at which time he hopes to pursue work in the nonprofit world. Tim is a marvelous representative of our student body, and it's my great pleasure to introduce him to you. Tim. Where are you?
Thank you, President Emmert. Good morning. Congratulations, students and families. It has been a long journey, and you made it here. the 13th grade. 4 years ago, I was sitting down there, just like you, both nervous and excited about what lay ahead. Today, I'd like to share a personal experience, which might resonate with you sometime in the next 4 years. Coming from a small school in Washington State, I found UW to be a difficult transition. I felt the school was too big, I could not find a major, and most importantly, I could not make the connection between school and the real world. In brief, I had yet to find my own place. Fortunately, I had a life-changing experience in my junior year. I participated in a program called Service Learning. Basically, an opportunity to combine class content with hands-on community service experiences. For my project, I taught kids in a local elementary school about environmental awareness. There is a dramatic difference between reading about education issues and witnessing them. And that's the first thing I learned from the school that I volunteer for. In that school, I painfully saw many third graders struggling with basic math. They were so far behind already, I did not know if they'll ever catch up. And socially, many kids had anger issues. They often expressed their unhappiness through yelling, crying, or kicking. One day, I walked by the playground and saw a group of students fighting violently, just violently. I reported the event to a teacher I greatly respect. Immediately, I could see the disappointment on his face when he tried to explain the situation. He told me that the school lacks the funding to hire a playground supervisor. Lacks the funding to hire a playground supervisor? I graduated from public high school and worked as a chess coach in 6 different elementary schools. This was the first time I witnessed such disparity in the quality of public education. Being both angry and disappointed that night, I refused to accept things as they were. To start, I got my friends to volunteer with me. Later on, I created a free chess program, bringing together parents, kids, and the school. Currently, the program is expanding. It's a start. My service learning experience transformed my understanding of higher education. The college experience should not be treated in isolation from the real world. Instead, it ought to help you become more connected and engaged with the real world. Soon, you will be presented with the same opportunity to explore and discover, both externally and internally. You'll learn about the world. You'll also learn about yourself. With that knowledge, you will be more aware of your connection to the world and find your own way to reciprocate. And at the end, you might just find that education is just a fancy word for a process that inspires us to make ourselves better people and this world a better place. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Tim. And now I'd like to introduce the provost of the university. Universities are organizations with many very odd and unusual titles. We're not just individuals who like to dress up in funny clothes, but we do in fact do so, and we have very unusual job titles that at first seem quite bewildering. But let me tell you a little bit about who the provost is and what they do for a living. At the modern university today, the provost is the chief academic officer, the person to whom the deans and vice provosts and professors work most closely to shape the academic experience that you will all enjoy. The provost has a huge and profound impact on what transpires on our campus and in all of our residence halls, indeed, an impact on the entire UW experience. And so it's with great pleasure that I introduce to you our provost, Dr. Phyllis Wise. Phyllis?
And in turn, it's my privilege and honor to be able to introduce today's speaker, Dean Daniel Friedman. Dean Friedman came to us last year from the University of Illinois at Chicago, where he was the director of the School of Architecture. He received his doctoral degree from the University of Pennsylvania in architectural theory. He's an incredibly well-respected leader. He has been invited to multiple meetings to speak on the area of education and ethics, on public architecture, and he is the co-founder and pastor of the journal Practices. He was elected in 2001 to the FAIA, the College of Fellows of American Institutes of Architecture, the most prestigious association in his discipline. We are incredibly fortunate to have been able to recruit him. Dean Friedman is the epitome of the architect of the 21st century. He understands the relationship between the built environment and the healthy environment, between sustainability and the built environment, between ecological systems and buildings. And so it is truly my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Dean Friedman.
Thank you, Provost Weiss. My thanks also to President Emmert, to our distinguished regents, and to my esteemed colleagues on the Board of Deans and Chancellors. It's a great honor and pleasure to be with you here today, and allow me to add my hearty congratulations. The students and faculty of the College of Architecture and Urban Planning asked me to extend their best wishes and warmest welcome, and to invite you to especially visit our newly renovated Architecture Hall. Architecture Hall is the university's only remaining permanent monumental building from the 1909 Alaska-Yukon Pacific Exposition, which established Rainier Vista and our original campus plan, designed by the Olmsted brothers of Central Park fame. I could easily spend all my time with you this morning describing our great campus. Quad by quad, garden by garden, it is in its own right a breathtaking arboretum and botanical wonderland of singular architectural character, and now it's yours. Like you, I'm a beginner Husky. I've been at UW about 14 months, and the one thing I appreciate most crossing the one-year mark is how unique this part of the country truly is, not just geographically, but intellectually and culturally. We're not the only world-class city with a world-class university. We're not the only world-class city surrounded by dramatic bodies of water. We're not the only world-class city encircled by deep forests and deific mountains. But there are only a few rare places on this earth that offer you all these things at once, where the complex interdependence of natural things and constructed things come into focus so uniquely and vividly. Okay, it's maybe a little wet, yet nowhere else can you witness what the great Pacific Northwest architect Arthur Erickson calls our oyster light. Although I've never lived in a place this gray, I've also never lived in a place where the better the weather gets, the deeper our sense of responsibility to all the things clear skies allow us to see. Living and working in the Pacific Northwest keeps the question of climate change fairly close at hand, which leads me to this year's common book, Field Notes from a Catastrophe. Elizabeth Colbert offers us compelling evidence that the Earth suffers a fever. Every day there's less and less doubt about greenhouse gas and the science behind melting ice caps, more and more debate about environmental policy and the best way to manage the causes and consequences of warmer oceans. Invariably, we'll turn to science to expedite badly needed remedies. But now we know that our activity on Earth and the things we make someday may fatally compromise the natural plenitude that sustains human life. The underlying premise of biodiversity is finally that as the Earth's dominant species, we have a special responsibility to modulate our behavior in ways that sustain the health of the whole ecosystem, wasp to whale, microbe to mountain. And we'll either succeed or we won't. Much of that is up to you. The good news is there are people on this stage, including the best environmental science in the world is taking place right here. And we hope soon to count you among the UW researchers who lead the field. Doubtless in the days ahead, we'll learn more and more about how our habits threaten the health of the planet. Cars, buildings, food, everything we do has a carbon signature. Yet I have abiding faith that the men and women engaged in science, art, medicine, and engineering, law, public policy, business, and design can help us find ways to ensure that the future generations inherit a healthy, natural environment. That said, I thought I might take this opportunity to address 5 things you might want to save in the cultural environment, which is every bit as much at risk. I'm sorry to say I can't talk to you about these things from the perspective of wisdom or greater knowledge. I'm afraid I have little to offer. On the contrary, my interest in these 5 things springs from personal failure, from my own errors, from my own propensity to take day-to-day life for granted. The 5 things I have in mind are things I tend to squander, and the chance to reflect on your great beginnings today somehow led me to reconsider their value. Firstly, we must save time. Not in the sense that frozen food saves time by saving labor, so we can spend the time we save on something more important, like leisure. The time I want to save is the sense of time that perishes in the microwave. The rhythms and cycles of agricultural production, for instance, or the rhythms of poetic meter, or the rhythms of the tide, or seasonal time, or the dilations and contractions of the time of youth and age. The time I want to save, building on Paul Virilio's words, is the loss of a sense of time in a world henceforth not whole, but reduced by technologies that have achieved both the escape velocity of terrestrial attraction, that's 28,000 kilometers per hour, and the absolute speed of electromagnetic waves. We're all familiar with the way modern progress degraded the quality of air and water, and here I'm talking about how modern technology degrades the quality of time, which is essential to our experience of natural distance and scale, and to the physical proximity of people and their communities. What technology does to time is, of course, not technology's fault. I'm not advocating that you throw away all your gadgets. I love gadgets. I have an iPhone in my pocket. Moreover, I believe technology can greatly enhance our understanding of how time works and what it means. My point is, the truer dimensions of time require close attention. And for you, right now, that means paying close attention to the time directly in front of you, to the 4 precious years shaped by discovery and self-formation. These are the years we develop lifelong intellectual habits. These are the years we acquire our critical vocabularies. So be sure to save yourself time to reflect, and be sure to save enough time for doubt and for uncertainty. Doubt and uncertainty stoke our curiosity and our sense of wonder, which is where philosophy begins. And one goal of philosophy, in the words of Richard Rorty, incorporating Hegel, is to capture one's own time in thought, which means to try to find a description of what's taking place here and now, a description that might help us figure out how to make the future different from the past. How well we define future and past depends, of course, in part on the authenticity and depth of our own relationship to time, both natural and cultural, and that, to me, is something truly worth saving. Secondly, save ink. Not in the sense of literary economy or editorial intervention, nor do I mean to suggest that books are at risk. Rather, I think reading is at risk. As entering freshmen, you now hold the keys to the world. My first point is, critical reading isn't comfort food. My second point is critical reading has a physical dimension. What a book feels like in the hand and how its sentences register in the mind constitute a pleasurable ratio that enhances the proportion of reading to reflection. I confess a certain heartbreak over the loss of pen and paper in my writing life, much as I regret the loss of ink on vellum in the drawing life of architects. I hope my message doesn't seem too sentimental or old-fashioned because I truly and passionately love my laptop. I'm sure you love yours. But what I'm arguing for is the cultural sustainability of reading, which, by its physical properties, engages us more deeply in the process of critical thinking than scrolling down the windows on a PDF with a single arrow key. So why not trade your lunch money for a great book? To own a book is one thing, to read it with a pencil in your hand and take possession of it by placing a check or note next to a key passage is another. To make books part of your life is to inscribe your story on theirs, leaving in the wake of turned pages a record of your encounter with the rich and complex network of ideas equal in every aspect to the digital network of URLs. One book leads to another, and soon you have a library of your own, in itself a history of your excursions through the great narrative territories. Of course, I wasn't singing this tune when I spent my so-called summer vacation unpacking the 4,000 pounds of books we brought with us from Chicago. But notwithstanding my satisfaction seeing them back on the shelf, their sheer weight compels me to offer the following advice. You can help sustain literacy by reading fewer books, but by reading them more deeply. To be clear, this plea for ink has no bearing on social justice, no bearing on the reduction of human suffering, only on the development of the self and self-trust. Since, as Harold Bloom reminds us, reading is finally a solitary activity. We read frequently, if not unknowingly, in quest of a mind more original than our own, Bloom says, and he urges us to do so, if for no other reason, to recover the ability to recover our sense of irony, which demands a certain attention span and the ability to sustain antithetical ideas even when they collide with one another. Read deeply, Bloom continues, not to believe, not to accept, not to contradict, but to learn to share in that one nature that reads and writes. Thirdly, save face. To save face means to retain respect and avoid humiliation. Respect for the integrity of the face of others under all circumstances, however challenging, is the root principle of civility, manners, etiquette, courtesy, compassion, and tolerance. All universities I know of cleave to this principle. It is the hallmark of an educated worldview. In the face of rude behavior, Emily Post entreats us never to duplicate the offense, but to model the respect we wish others to pay us, and most importantly, to own our own conduct even when coping with unacceptable conduct of others. Most philosophies and most religions align on this principle. As I act, so I license others to act likewise. So whether in response to noisy neighbors or belligerent nations, both local etiquette and global diplomacy suggest that the superior path involves sustaining respect for one's opponent so long and as far as possible. Humiliation destroys all possibilities for respect. We will all invariably face conflict. We will all face enemies. My question here is simple. Whatever we do to advance or defend our cause, however minor or great the threat, is there not a way we can proceed into disagreement that respects the potential in our adversary on principle, irrespective of their position or behavior, however offensive, save perhaps the most nefarious transgressions of humanity? To do otherwise will surely humiliate, and this earth knows no destructive force greater or more intractable than pride wounded by humiliation. By saving the face of our enemies, ultimately, we save our own face. Fourthly, save space. Not the vast, undifferentiated space of oceans and atmosphere and prairie, not the space we free in order to accommodate yet more things that need more space, and not the intimate space of our own backyards. I have in mind saving the kind of space we hold in reserve to structure our encounter with the world outside our families, public space, space that welcomes equally the appearance of the familiar and the foreign. Lucky you, because in fairness, Seattle is blessed with spaces like this. The Seattle Public Library, our new Olympic Sculpture Park, Danny Wu Garden in the International District, Pike Place Market, Seattle Center. Our campus offers exemplary public space. Central Plaza, Hub Yard, Drumheiler Fountain, and also great cultural institutions, the Burke and the Henry. We should prize these assets no less than mountains and sea. Notwithstanding, public space is at risk. This year marks the moment human beings became an urban species. Over half the world's population now lives in cities, and this century will witness the mass migration from country to city, especially along seacoasts, on a scale not yet fully calculable. This sprawling development of cities has greatly homogenized the kinds of spaces in which we appear together with strangers. Without making too harsh a judgment about them, because I frequent malls as much as anyone else, what I seek for you to sustain is a space that challenges ordinary routines and expectations, that stimulates social and cultural exchange, and that sharpens our attention to the social mosaic, if for no other reason than to experience the truer wellsprings of identity and character, which can only be understood in juxtaposition with difference. And finally, save room. Not for dessert, beware of the freshman 15. Save room for something yet to come, setting aside the sobering inequities that divide those who live with abundance from those who live with scarcity. What I'm talking about, given our educational opportunities and affluence, is the responsibility to modulate our own appetites in consideration of unforeseen possibilities, to make way, yield place, draw back, or retire so as to allow someone else to enter or pass, in the words of the Oxford English Dictionary. To save room for something is to sustain accommodation, to stop short of satiety, to leave a little room no matter how hungry or great our desire. Save room for others, save room for the unexpected, save room for the museum, save room for foreign language, save room for a differing opinion, save room for play, save room for solitude, save room for the love beyond the ones who love you. In addition to saving time, saving ink, saving face, saving space, and saving room, I encourage you to save this date, June 11, 2011. That is the day you graduate. And when that day arrives, sooner than you think, be sure to save a change of clothes, because on that day you'll be sitting next door in the middle of Husky Stadium, enjoying Seattle's Oyster Light in the pouring rain. Lastly, there's something I think you shouldn't save. There's something I'd urge you not to hold in reserve or pocket away. This is something I know you already possess in great measure. And here I turn to Ralph Waldo Emerson from his essay, Compensation. Beware of too much good staying in your hand, by which Emerson means, give generously of your good hearts. Give generously of your good nature. Thank you. Much luck to you. See you on campus.
Thank you very much, Dean Friedman. You just had a taste of the many wonderful educators that you are now going to spend the next 4 years with. And so now I would like to welcome you one last time to the University of Washington. We are delighted that you took time, that you saved time to enjoy this great ceremony today. Welcome to the UW. Welcome, my fellow Huskies.
The 2007 Freshman Convocation at the University of Washington is now closed.